What if the villain you hated was never really the villain at all? Loki is one of those characters people think they understand. The liar. The trickster. The brother who always ruins everything. But here's the uncomfortable truth: Loki didn't start as a monster. He started as a kid who just wanted to belong. Think about it. Imagine growing up in a palace made of gold, surrounded by gods, and still feeling invisible. Imagine being told you're special, only to later learn your entire life was built on a lie. That's Loki's story. And once you really see it, his choices stop looking random. They start looking painfully human. This isn't just a superhero backstory. It's a story about jealousy, identity, and what happens when love feels conditional. It's about being the second choice. The backup. The one who has to work twice as hard just to be noticed. As we walk through Loki's life, from his childhood on Asgard to his final sacrifice, ask yourself this: how many times do people become villains simply because no one listened to them? By the end of this video, you won't just understand Loki. You might see a little bit of yourself in him too. And that's where his story truly begins. When you're ready, say, "Next chapter," and I'll continue with childhood on Asgard. Fire continue till outro. Alright, continuing chapter by chapter, same tone, same rules. Each section is 200 words, starts with a subhook, and flows like a real conversation. Childhood on Asgard. Imagine being raised as a prince, while never truly feeling like one. Loki grew up in Asgard, a place of golden halls and loud celebrations. From the outside, his life looked perfect. He was Odin's son. A prince. A god. But inside that palace, something was always off. Thor was the center of everything: the laughter, the praise, the future king. Loki stood nearby, watching, learning, staying quiet. As a child, Loki didn't lack love. But he lacked clarity. Odin never told him who he really was. No one explained why Loki looked different, why magic came more naturally to him than brute strength. Kids notice those things. And when no one explains them, the silence becomes an answer. Picture Loki sitting alone while Thor trains, fights, wins. Loki reads, studies, thinks. He becomes sharp because he has to. Clever because power isn't handed to him. That's where the trickster is born, not from evil, but from adaptation. Every smile Loki gives hides a question: am I enough? And the worst part? He never asks it out loud. Because in Asgard, strength is celebrated. Doubt is ignored. And Loki learns early: if he wants to matter, he'll have to become someone unforgettable. Jealousy of Thor. What hurts more, being hated, or being overlooked? Loki didn't hate Thor at first. He admired him. Thor was everything Loki wasn't: loud, fearless, loved without trying. Doors opened for Thor automatically. Loki had to knock. Hard. Every single time. Jealousy didn't arrive overnight. It grew slowly, quietly. Every time Thor was forgiven. Every time Thor failed upward. Loki noticed how mistakes didn't stick to Thor, but silence stuck to him. Then came the truth. Loki discovers he isn't Odin's biological son. He's a frost giant. The enemy. Suddenly, every unanswered question makes sense. The distance. The secrets. The feeling of being slightly out of place. That moment breaks something inside him. Because now the jealousy isn't just about Thor. It's about identity. Loki asks himself a brutal question: if I was never meant to be here, then what was I meant to be? Thor had a destiny written in stone. Loki realizes his was hidden, maybe erased. And when people don't feel chosen, they try to prove their worth. Loki doesn't want the throne just for power. He wants proof that he mattered. Key betrayals. When someone feels betrayed by the world, betrayal becomes easy. Loki's first big betrayal isn't shocking once you understand his pain. He doesn't turn against Asgard because he hates it. He turns because he feels lied to. Used. Like a story written by someone else. In Thor, Loki manipulates events not for chaos, but control. For the first time, he's pulling strings instead of being pulled. It feels good. Dangerous. Addictive. Then comes New York. Standing there with an army behind him, Loki isn't just invading Earth. He's performing. Every word, every threat, is him shouting, "Look at me now." But here's the tragedy: even in betrayal, Loki wants connection. He wants Thor to see him. Odin to choose him. Someone to say, "You belong." Instead, he gets prison. Chains. Silence. And that's the cost of betrayal no one talks about. It isolates you further. It proves your worst fear, that you're alone. Loki didn't betray because he was cruel. He betrayed because he was desperate. And desperation makes people cross lines they never planned to. Loss, death, and growth. Sometimes it takes loss to teach empathy. Frigga's death hits Loki harder than any punishment ever could. She was the one who truly saw him. Taught him magic. Protected him quietly. When she dies, Loki loses the last safe place in his world. You can see the change after that. His jokes slow down. His anger softens. Pain replaces pride. Loki fakes his death more than once, but each time, the mask cracks. He isn't trying to escape anymore. He's trying to understand who he is without lies. His relationship with Thor shifts too. They stop being rivals and start being brothers, flawed, bruised, but real. They fight side by side. They fail together. Growth doesn't mean Loki becomes perfect. It means he starts caring about consequences. About people beyond himself. That's a huge step for someone who spent his whole life feeling unseen. Loss doesn't fix Loki. But it matures him. And for the first time, he chooses something other than himself. TVA transformation. What would you do if you were forced to watch your entire life, and your death? The TVA doesn't punish Loki with pain. It punishes him with truth. They make him watch his failures. His mother's death. His own meaningless end at Thanos' hands. No glory. No throne. Just silence. That breaks him. But it also frees him. Because once Loki sees how his story was supposed to end, he stops running from himself. He meets Sylvie, a version of him shaped by pain instead of privilege. And suddenly, Loki understands empathy on a deeper level. This is where Loki truly changes. Not because someone orders him to. But because he chooses to. He learns about free will. Responsibility. Sacrifice. And for the first time, Loki isn't reacting. He's deciding. The trickster becomes thoughtful. The liar becomes honest. And the villain starts becoming something else entirely. God of Stories finale. What if the greatest power is choosing to stay behind? Loki's final choice is the most painful, and the most selfless. He gives up freedom, love, and companionship to hold the multiverse together. No applause. No throne. Just responsibility. By becoming the God of Stories, Loki doesn't control people. He protects their choices. He becomes the foundation instead of the spotlight. It's poetic. The boy who wanted attention now chooses invisibility. The man who feared loneliness accepts it to save everyone else. Loki finally writes his own ending. Not as a villain. Not as a hero. But as someone who understood himself. The cost of intelligence. What if being smart is the reason you're never trusted? Loki's greatest strength was never magic or strength. It was his mind. He noticed patterns others ignored. He thought 3 steps ahead. But intelligence, when mixed with insecurity, becomes dangerous. From a young age, Loki learned that being clever got attention, but not affection. People laughed at his tricks, yet never relied on him. Over time, Loki internalized a painful lesson: if I can't be loved, I'll be impressive. That mindset follows him everywhere. Every plan, every scheme, every lie is Loki proving he's not weak. But the irony? The smarter he becomes, the more isolated he feels. No one knows when he's telling the truth. Not even himself. This is relatable in a quiet way. How many people hide behind humor, sarcasm, or intelligence to avoid being vulnerable? Loki doesn't lie because he enjoys it. He lies because honesty once left him exposed. And until he learns that being seen is scarier than being clever, he keeps building walls no one can climb. Love, fear, and Sylvie. What happens when you finally meet someone who understands you completely? Sylvie isn't just a love interest. She's a mirror. She shows Loki who he could have been if life had been harsher from the start. Where Loki had a palace, Sylvie had survival. Where he had questions, she had certainty. And that's terrifying. For the first time, Loki feels something real, not admiration, not fear, not rivalry. Connection. And suddenly, all his old tricks stop working. Because you can't manipulate someone who already knows your pain. Loki falls in love, but more importantly, he learns trust. And trust scares him more than any enemy ever did. This chapter matters because it shows growth isn't loud. It's quiet. Awkward. Uncomfortable. Loki doesn't just care about Sylvie. He respects her. And that respect changes how he sees himself. Loneliness as destiny. Is loneliness a punishment, or a choice? Loki ends his journey alone. But not abandoned. This time, the loneliness isn't rejection. It's purpose. He understands now that some roles don't come with companionship. Someone has to hold the timelines together. Someone has to stay. And Loki chooses to be that someone. This hits hard because it mirrors real life. Not all sacrifices are dramatic. Some are quiet decisions no one applauds. Loki sits on his throne, not as a king, but as a guardian. Watching stories unfold without interfering. Protecting free will while surrendering his own. Loki's true legacy. Maybe Loki's story isn't about gods at all. It's about being misunderstood. About growing up feeling second best. About acting out because no one listens. Loki teaches us that people aren't born broken. They're shaped. And sometimes, healing looks like responsibility, not reward. So here's the question I'll leave you with. If Loki could rewrite his story, what part of yours would you change? Drop your thoughts below. And if this story hit home, you already know why. Because Loki was never just a god. He was human.